It's very easy for us to always latch on to results that we have to get on the outside for us to feel a certain way. I've coached for 7 years in the fitness space. I've coached sales for 2 to 3 years at this point, and also personal transformation for the last year. And the largest thing that I see, especially when I was coaching sales a lot, was clients saying, not until I do X can I feel X or feel validated in that kind of way. And it just made me realize, even in my own journey, how much we place emphasis on things that are happening out here instead of actually how we show up in here. Because the reality is, and as I've gone through years of coaching, both from the fitness point of view, then obviously to the professional sales world, and then also that personal transformation world, the actual reality is, whether it's getting in shape, whether it's making a certain amount of money, or getting some result that someone actually wants on the outside, the real transformation required to get that outside thing was how they actually showed up in regards to who they are. That was the most profound thing. After all of those years, if you connect the dots of the commonalities that was actually responsible, yes, we can say that there are techniques and actions specific to the goal, 100%, but what actually caused the person to truly make the change to stick to those actions was the personal transformation and change they had to undergo with themselves. And the real limiting factor actually that held the person back from achieving that transformation in whatever area they wanted was their belief systems, what they believed about themselves. In reality, we do get what we believe. When we truly affirm with our beliefs, we act naturally in alignment to those things because we create that mental construct of how the world we see it as. And if we see it that way, we treat certain circumstances in a way that aligns with that belief, right? So the beliefs are like the foundational mental construct that then determines how we act out in the world, right? Which then also determines how we interpret things, which then makes us feel a certain way. So I always tell a client this: as you progress through your journey, if you come across a situation to where you have any kind of negative feeling or emotion, whether it's doubt, whether it's anxiety, sadness, there's typically a misaligned belief that is actually underneath that, that's making you interpret whatever circumstance it is as a negative one, right? And the reason why I say misaligned belief is because in reality, we don't want to feel those things. It's not a belief that is really serving us in that moment, right? It's not a perspective of the world that is serving us and making us feel a certain way. And you may ask, well, why does it matter how I feel? Shouldn't we sacrifice how we feel for the goal at hand? Well, I used to believe the same thing until I recognized the value of the frequency that you operate at. The frequency, essentially, the energy that you emit into the world, will also determine the quality of the actions that you do and also how you are perceived in this world as well. Let's take sales, for example. If someone does the exact same techniques on a sales call, but one of them is incredibly happy, incredibly high vibration, they're just glowing, versus a person who says the same things, but maybe they're feeling low, they're sad, they're unconfident, their frequency is low, then they just won't get the same result. Because of the energy that they put into it, they will get it back. So when you hear about law of attraction and all of these things, really what's happening is that you're operating at a certain frequency based on the feelings that you have, which is also determined by the beliefs that you have. Yeah. And then once those feelings are happening and your frequency is emitting that, then you attract more of that. You're pretty much creating a magnetic field of that frequency that attracts more So if you're always feeling sad, then you will resonate and attract more of sad emotions in your life. And what you will start realizing actually happens is that you will start looking and thinking for things that reinforce the sad state, because it actually ends up, if you do it long enough, habituating. Like your body's chemistry gets used to that emotion and that feeling and that frequency. It becomes almost like an addiction. And once that happens, it becomes quite dangerous, because then the thoughts go and try to latch on to certain interpretations of circumstances to reinforce the same emotion that the body is so familiar with. This is why some people find it very hard to change, is because they're addicted to those negative emotions. And when they have those negative emotions, then they try to approach their goals with that frequency, and it just doesn't resonate. People don't take it well. It attracts more of that negative frequency, and they don't end up getting the results that they want. So the actual change required, whether it's sales, whether it's fitness, first of all, is to shift who you are, shift how you view the world, shift your energy. Now, how can we do that rather than me being really vague? Like I said, if you come across a circumstance that bothers you or lowers your frequency, you ask yourself why. Why are you actually feeling that way? How are you interpreting this circumstance that is pretty much making you react to it negatively? And find what you believe to be true to be interpreting the circumstance negatively. Now, once you do that, you observe it, you bring it to the forefront, you then ask, is this actually something I believe in? Like, do I really believe that to be true? Most of the time, it's no. And you can actually bring that to the awareness and reinforce and write a new belief on top of that and truly remind yourself. And eventually, over time, it like kind of sticks in your subconscious, so to speak. Sometimes some people really struggle to actually, like they might actually believe it. And they're like, oh, well, I haven't seen circumstances. And with those people, usually, those are the kind of people who, especially as a client, I kind of help them with perspectives. That starts to shift their belief system, because they haven't been exposed to circumstances, or they're not reminded of circumstances that debunk the belief. Which is why proximity is power, because when you're around the certain people who've been through a lot, that they can help you with that. And ultimately, you want to be around people who have positive beliefs, because they are aware enough to understand that what you believe pretty much comes true. So if you have negative beliefs, you're giving yourself those negative experiences and interpretations in the world, rather than people who are very positive. And for some reason, right, when you look from the outside, they seem delusional and all of this, but they're so happy and they're living a good life. Most of the time that's intentional. Some people it's not, but a lot of people who are aware enough understand what they're doing. They're setting themselves up with a positive mental framework to live life by. And that's a smart thing to do. It's not dumb, it's not delusion, because delusion is assuming that it's not true and they believe it, right? But if you truly do get what you believe, then it's not delusion, it's fact. So they're choosing positive beliefs. So let's kind of pull this back. If you truly want to change in whatever area that it is, and you're finding that there's resistance, go to the core underlying beliefs that you have around those things that's making you interpret the circumstance as negative in any kind of way, whether you're experiencing fear, anxiety, whatever it is, okay? Obviously, easier said than done. That's the work that I do with my clients now, and that it can be a deep rabbit hole that you may have to dive into. But the brave ones who can do it will be rewarded. So you have a choice. Be brave or stay the same. Repeat the old patterns, because that's what most people do, is they just repeat, because the fear around the whole thing, around the confrontation of confronting their fears, it's so large that they would rather just kind of live life in that state of reaction and not looking, because they don't want to confirm it. Like, God forbid that belief is true or their fear is true around whether they think they're good enough. So they avoid it and they live life pretty much predetermining that state for themselves as they continue to live their life. So it's up to you if that's what you want to keep doing. Once you're aware of this, it's very hard to go back, and that's the whole point of this video. So I hope that helps, raises some questions for you. At least a little bit of homework for this video is look at one area of your life that you keep having negative reactions around and find out what the belief you have is that's making you react that way and start rewriting it. That's your homework. If you want to contact me personally, a little bit of guidance back and forth, whatever it is, my Instagram is in the link in the description. It's william.gill, Gill. More than happy to talk, more than happy to chat, see how I can help. And I hope this video helps, and I'll see you in the next one.